Bookaholics, is Isabel and welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be talking about all the books I want to read before I die. That might be a little morbid. This is just my TBR for the rest of my life, I guess. So yeah, I have 20 books here. These are a mixture of classic books that have been on my shelves for a little bit, and just books I want to read but I just haven't gotten around to, and I definitely want to do it before I essentially die. That is what this video is, so let's just get right into it. So the first book I want to read is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This one has been on my TBR for a while, but it's one that's been on my TBR before I even was doing YouTube. Like, I've heard about this book, so many people have been praising it, and just so many people have talked about this book, and I just haven't read it. And I really want to try this out and see just what all the hype is about, why Jo is such an amazing character, why this story has been adapted so many times, and just, yeah, I want to find out. So this is definitely a book that I want to read before I die. The next book I want to read is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. With all the classics, like, I absolutely love Jane Austen, although I haven't read all of her books yet, which is a little bit blasphemy, but just haven't done it. But I definitely want to check out Jane Eyre. This one is a very popular classic book. Probably like the second after Pride and Prejudice. Yeah, I'm just really excited to read this one. And so many people I know have read it, and I need to know what happens. So this is definitely one that's on my list. The next one I want to read is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, I think. This one is also a very popular one. Again, I don't know if it's the most talked about, like, romance, because it's one of the first romance that brought in, like, the bad boy, I think. Like, I know that their relationship is not healthy, and I know, like, I've heard about how this book ends, and so I'm curious about, like, why the couple in this novel is, like, made to be so romantic, and I don't know, I want to check it out, and I definitely want to do it before I die. The next one I want to read is 1984 by, I really should have figured out who the authors were, but I want to read this one because this is like one of the first dystopian, maybe not the first one, but it's one of the first known ones, and that really got popular, and that everyone's been talking about now in this whole era of the internet and how people are being spied on kind of thing. So yeah, I'm curious about this one, just kind of see what the author maybe not predicted, but like suspected might happen later on in the future with everything. He definitely thought it'd be happening a lot sooner than it actually does, but I'm excited to see where this dystopian goes. Next one I want to read is The Diary of Anne Frank. I think a lot of people have read or want to read because it is a very sad story about Anne Frank and her life in World War II in Germany. So yeah, I definitely want to check this one out. I'm kind of scared to read it, but I'm also excited because it's an historical book and I feel like I really need to read it to really grasp the Anne Frank stories. The next one I want to read is Charlotte's Web. So Charlotte's Web might be a bit of a surprise being on here, but I haven't actually read this book. I've watched the movie. I've watched that like multiple times in my childhood, but I never actually read the book. So I definitely want to check this one out before I die and just, yeah, read it. The next one I want to read is The Secret Garden. So The Secret Garden is also one I have not read. I have not read this one, and I think I've watched the movie back in my elementary school days, but I honestly can't remember what that was about, and I'm not even sure that that movie was what this book was based on. Like, I'm not too sure, but I definitely want to check this one out. It's a children's classic, so yeah, I definitely want to read it at some point in my life. The next one I want to read is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I knew that author. This one I think would just be a nice one to read during the Christmas time, and it's just like a classic Christmas story. Like, I kind of want that feel of like the classic Christmas story back in the time that Charles Dickens wrote this. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like this one's a good one that I would really love to read. The next one on my list is The Handmaid's Tale by, can't remember this author either. Oh my god. Yeah, I definitely want to read this one. I think it's gonna be so difficult and it's gonna be a very hard read, but I definitely want to see where this book goes. I haven't watched the TV show and I kind of want to read the book before I do. But yeah, I'm hoping I'll get to it eventually, but yeah, this is definitely one I want to read before I die. The next one I want to read is Frankenstein. I've read Dracula and I actually really enjoyed that and I love the gothic of it, so I definitely want to check out Frankenstein at some point in my life and see what all the buzz is about in that book. So yeah. The next book I want to read is Catch-22. Honestly, I have no idea what this one's about. I'm not too sure if it's like a dystopia novel as well. Like, I honestly have no idea what this one's about, but I've been told to read it. I've heard a lot about it, and just like that saying, it's a Catch-22, just always stuck with me. So I definitely want to check this one out and see what that phrase has to do with this book. So yeah. The next one I want to read is Anne Karenina. This one, I also don't know what it's about, but I've kind of been wanting to read this one ever since I read Tash Love Tolstoy. That book is about a girl who's making a film on YouTube about this and making it modern of Anne Karenina. So I definitely been kind of wanting to read it ever since then. I've been hearing different thoughts on this book, that some people don't really like it, some people do, some people are mad about it, and I just want to see where I fit on that spectrum, you know? The next one I want to read is The Scarlet Letter. So this one I'm actually kind of a little bit uncomfortable with. I don't know, like, it hasn't been on my list very long to read because I never really had the desire, but I feel like this is still one that I'd like to read at some point in my life and see how women were treated and how women were portrayed in this time. I just want to see kind of where this book takes that idea back in the 19th century? The next book I want to read is Small Great Things by Jodi Picoult. This one has been on my list for a long time, and Jodi Picoult is one of my favorite authors, and I have not read this one. Small Great Things is one of her absolutely most praised book out of all of her books that she's written. So I definitely want to read this one at some point in my life and just finally figure out what the hype is. The next book I want to read before I die is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I still haven't read this book. It's been on my shelves for a few years and I've been so excited for it, and yet I still have not read it. I don't know, I just have a hard time picking up books that I'm excited about. I don't know, but I definitely want to get to this book and finally read it and see what it's about by the time I die. So I got some time left in my life, hopefully, so I should be able to get to this as soon as possible, hopefully, before I die. And the next book I want to read is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. So I haven't had this on my shelf as long as some of these other books, but I still definitely want to read this before I die. I feel like so many people have been praising this book lately, so many people have been loving it, and I just want to see what that's all about. And I definitely want to know before I die. The next one on this list is The Great Gatsby. So honestly, I was hesitant to put this on here. I don't know why. I didn't really know what The Great Gatsby was about. I knew nothing about it. I just didn't, like, the name just doesn't stick out to me. I wasn't all that interested in it. But then I finally did read the synopsis, and it is based in the 1920s. So that intrigues me a bit. So it got on this list because of that, and I definitely want to check it out before I die. The next I want to read is Anne of Green Gables. So this one I have not read yet, and I believe this one's like a staple Canadian series, and I haven't read it. So I definitely want to check this one out. So many people love this series, so many people love this story, and I definitely want to check it out before I die. The last two here, they kind of are connected here, but I wanted to keep them separate still. The first one is Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the prequel to The Lord of the Rings, and I have not read this one yet, but I definitely want to, and yeah, I definitely want to check this one out and see where it goes. For the last one, I want to finish the Lord of the Rings series. So I have so far read Fellowship of the Ring, but I still have to read The Two Towers and The Return of the King. So I definitely want to get to those two before I die. I hope you guys enjoyed this. It was a bit of a different kind of TBR. It's not like a month, it's a lifetime TBR. So I was really excited to do this because it made me think about all the books that I want to read before I die. So So yeah, that's all that this was for you guys. I hope you guys enjoy this. Let me know what books you want to read before you die. What books do you think out of my list do you think I should read right away? And yeah, so subscribe if you have not yet, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!